This is Writing Daily. I'm your host, Devin. Every day we get together and we talk about writing. We talk about the writer's life, how to promote yourself, how to finish your book, your memoir, your novel, get your stuff out into the world, basically the whole kit and caboodle of what writing is. Today, I have a very special guest with me, a buddy named Patrick Oneil. Patrick, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Devin. Glad to be here. Or happy to be here.
I'm so glad that you are happy to be here. And so, anyway, I'm going to tell a quick story. Is that when I went to Antioch University, basically I was given, shall we say, like a more knowledgeable person who was going to show me the ropes of what an MFA program at Antioch University looks like. And I think I was, without question, a deer caught in the headlights. And I was given Patrick Oneil as that guy. So Patrick, I want to thank you for being sort of like my introduction into sort of like the academic world of genius writing people and an MFA program, because it made a big difference to me.
No pressure there. Whoa. Well, MFA programs are scary and people walking in the door. And when they asked me to do that kind of thing, I was like, hell yeah, because I had the worst. The guy who was my mentor, where the hell it is, just sort of said, "There's the school, go do it." And I was like, "Oh no," like that. So it was an honor, man. It was really cool because you might have had deer in the headlights, but you were enthusiastic, and that, I think that's the best thing about coming to Antioch, is meeting other people that really, or coming to any MFA program, is meeting other people who are just as excited about writing as we were.
Yeah, it was a good program. So we may talk more about that, but I want to first give our audience a little rundown of who you are. So Patrick Oneil is the author of the memoirs Gun, Needle, Spoon by Dzanc Books, and Hold Up, which comes from 13E Note Editions. His writing has appeared on numerous publications, including Juxtapose, Salon.com, The Fix, The Nervous Breakdown, After Party Magazine, and Razor Cake. He is a contributing editor for Sensitive Skin Magazine, a Pushcart nominee, and a two-time nominee of Best of the Net. He holds an MFA from Antioch University, Los Angeles, where we met, and is the co-coordinator for the Why There Are Words Los Angeles reading series. Oneil currently lives in the MacArthur Park, West Lake District with his wife, Jennifer, and two rather large Maine Coons. For more information, please visit patrickoneil.com. Patrick, you're like a total rock star. One of the things that I remembered about you is how at ease you were with being a writer. Like, in other words, you kind of already had down, and this is just my perception, is that you had already had down this idea that it's like, yeah, you just have to go do it. Like, it was just like, I was kind of struggling with this notion of like, well, you have to put it down, you have to tell the truth. And it was like this angst around that. And you had this ability to just like, yeah, no, this is just the story. You have to go tell your story. And so I want to talk a couple minutes, if it's all right with you, about Gun, Needle, Spoon, which, by the way, is a fantastic read, beautifully written, wonderful story, very edgy, to say the least. First, can you give us a little a synopsis of the book in your own words?
Well, it chronicles it's a memoir, and it chronicles my descent into drug addiction and crime. And basically, I condensed a couple of the last years of using into 1 year when I went from being sort of a street junkie to being an armed bank robber junkie. And that's the basis for the first half of the book. And the second half is 8 years later, post-prison, post-recovery, post-rehab, trying to figure out who I am if I'm not a junkie bank robber, which was my persona before all that happened. So it's a book of redemption, but it's also a book of self-discovery.
It's a remarkable story. And so, did you find it easy to kind of, because listen, we're both memoirists. This is, there's a point where you just have to really dig deep to get at sort of like the real truth, not just the stuff that I want you to believe. Was that an easy process for you?
No, it wasn't, because I mean, my first drafts were rather horrid. I kind of wanted to tell the story, but I didn't want to look bad doing it. And when you're a junkie and you're a bank robber and you're doing all these things, it's pretty hard to look good. And if you do look good, then you're sort of lying. Because basically, it's I mean, there's a lot of horrible things happen. Not that I was this horrible person, but I wasn't very nice or caring or to myself or others. I mean, and so my first drafts were sort of not taking responsibility for my actions, a little blaming of others, and trying to just sort of say that's just the way it is, deal with it, and that didn't work out. And I mean, we've all read memoirs like that, but it just don't ring true. And whether you can be a really horrible person, but if you're telling the truth, I will listen, and I will be there, and I will read your book. If you're posturing and lying and bragging, I sort of get bored after 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah, no, I think again, I admire how you were just willing to go there with it. I think you did it. I think you did a great job. Did you have any particular memoirs or writers that helped you get into that place, or is that something where you just kind of like, okay, during your own self-discovery or something else?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the book that sort of made it all possible for me to really write my book was Jerry Stahl's Permanent Midnight. And he says, so it's relatively the same story, someone like losing everything, pretty much not crime element, but a lot of drug use. And Jerry Stahl has an amazing ability to just really dig deep, and he's got no problem telling you what he was and what he was doing. And there's some scenes in that book that I've used to teach writing with that are just intense, where he just opens himself bare. And when I started reading that book, and there's a few others out there, that sort of like Mary Carr's Liars Club is another one that just really gets in there. Janet Wall's Glass Castle, there's a couple of memos like that just open up, and you read them, and you just sort of, they're kind of like punches in the stomach, like, oh my God, again, it's that thing where, God, this person is a very good person, but I will follow their story anywhere because they've invested their emotions in me. As I was like, okay, I got that. That's beautiful. And there's a scene with Jerry Stahl where he goes and scores drugs in a shooting gallery while holding his 2-year-old baby in his arm, and he sort of judges this other junkie there. The junkie turns to him and goes, "You think you're better than me? I didn't bring my 2-year-old kid to this place." And it's like, oof, man, just like really strong, really good writing, really good open stuff. And I feel like when I kind of read that stuff, I'm like going, yeah, I got to find that defining moment in my work.
Well, you did an excellent job for starters. You really is a wonderful story. A matter of fact, I have the book sitting next to me right now. By the way, normally we do this on camera, but technology is what it is. So we're going kind of strictly podcast today. We'll work it out. It'll all be fine. And by the way, whether you are watching live, whether you're seeing a later view of this, please make sure you hit the like button, share it, subscribe to iTunes, all that kind of fun stuff. But getting back to the book. When you talk about, right, you admit that you're a junkie, bank robber, all these kind of almost fiendish things. I have my own drug tales, so I certainly identify with that portion of it.
Right.
How do you write? Because I'm assuming there has to be a certain amount of reliability in memory that's going on, and at the same time, you have this fantastic story that needs to be told. Was there ever an issue in sort of exploring that part of it when you're telling your story?
What exactly do you mean by that? You mean, is there ever an issue remembering it, or is there ever a mission
Well,
of just
I guess the
divulging
reliability,
information?
the reliability of the memories. How do you play with that sort of?
Right. Got it. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my story. So, if witnesses are notoriously wrong in court. People don't, you ask 10 people what happened and you get 10 different stories, and for a minute or two, I would go ask other people what happened at some things that I couldn't quite remember, or to make sure my memory was correct. And I would get a total different story. And so I actually put a disclaimer in the book, and it just says, this is my memory. In a court of law, I'd swear on a Bible, I'd pass a lie detector test. And it is my book. So, I can only write what I remember, and so it's sort of, I think that people get a little weirded out when it's creative nonfiction or memoir, that it turns into a historical document, but it's really our memories. The memoir is our memories, and so I sort of, I have to go with my gut feeling on that. It's just sort of, I can't question it if that's just my memory.
No, I agree with you. I think that is, I don't know what it is. I think people are really looking to get facts. Not all people, but some people are looking to get some sort of, like, as if you're walking around with a video cam recorder. I think
right.
is sort of like painting an image of what the truth is for you in those moments. So in reading your story, I never got to a place where it was like, this wasn't a real thing. Like, I was with you 100%. And I think that's a testament to your writing willingness to go there. But I absolutely agree with you. I think there is a certain element of people that are looking for some other answer than what the real story is for you. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like presenting a hypothetical. And I don't necessarily think it's useful in the larger picture. But I think what we do go ahead.
Well, I think that there's questionable stuff out there. We all know A Million Little Pieces, and even in Cold Blood, it turns out that he sort of made some of that up like that. But I think there's a level of, I don't want to say this totally, but a little better level of creativity allowed the author in all our work in nonfiction. I write a lot of dialogue using what I remember, but is it the exact words being said at that time, at that moment 20 years ago? I can't testify to that. I could just say that that's the gist of the conversation, and I write with that character, their voice in mind and how they would say it. So there's certain levels of creativity, a creative license that we get to write this stuff.
Well, but I think that's what remembering is. In other words, if we just look at it, we're kind of reconstructing something. And I think especially with dialogue, I went through the same thing, is that, it's like, could I say with 100% certainty, my father said it, these exact words? I can't say that, but what I can say with 100% certainty is that the way I present them is the way he talked.
Right.
That's what I had to go. I had to go with, that was my father. And I think that people in your memoir have that same sensibility. There was a sense of care that was taken with dialogue. Was that something that you struggled with? I mean, it doesn't necessarily sound like it, but I think it was an important part of your story.
Well, I'm a full believer in making the story as palatable and interesting as possible. I think we can learn a lot from fiction and other aspects of writing, poetry, all kinds of stuff to give a flow to our writing. I don't think memoir nonfiction needs to be boring or dull or just like straightforward documentation. So I think there's a creative license there enough to incorporate, action and dialogue and narration and all the elements that make up good storytelling, because essentially that's what we're doing. We're telling a story. So the dialogue came to me just mainly because I was wanting my characters to come alive, and I call them characters only on a level of, so we have a dialogue of discourse to talk about writing. They're not characters; they're real people, and a lot of times they just change the names and stuff like that. A few of them were composites of several people, or just a type of person that was around and stuff like that. They didn't play large roles in the book. I just just to use that element so that people would know who it was. Plus, there's another element that's kind of hard with my book, in that I'm admitting to crimes, and so I can't really say so and so was there with me committing this crime. I can't implicate somebody else legally. That's not really the great thing to do. And so there's a little bit of of changing who's doing what and what's happening there, and also a little bit of a timeline too. So it might not have happened. I mean, if you look at a junkie's life or the criminal's life, there's huge swaths of time that nothing happens. If I was to write that book, it'd be hugely boring. I mean, then he sat around, he shut up, then he did nothing, then he stared at the ceiling, then he had another cigarette, blah, 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 repeated ad nauseum every day, So I sort of had to condense things so I could kind of more intense and more on and stuff like that. But I think all of that, I mean, everybody writes like that. I mean, who's doing memoir. Otherwise, we have, huge swaths of books of what people ate every day and what they watched on TV and what movie they went to or what book they're reading. And those books would never sell. You go, oh my God, this is crap.
Well, no, I mean, I
kind of like that. So I mean,
yeah, no, I think exactly right. I mean, we have to. I mean, here's the thing. At some point, we can talk about our stories to the people who love us. But when we take that story and we bring it to sort of like the general population, the reader has to be in mind. We want them to turn to the next page. So I think I did what you did. I selected moments from my life that characterized larger, pervasive issues over a long period of time.
Exactly. And these issues are character of what happens and how the intercourse happened, or how the interactions happened, or how the dialogue happened, or how everything happened, and put together that's the sum of the core of the emotions that made for the feelings they want to write the book in the first place. Yeah,
absolutely. So I want to take a little sidestep, because you mentioned something that was pretty interesting. That the book has criminal activity, right? Things that the government says, this is not okay. And to be clear, you've served your time. You've done the things that was required of you. Was there any part of you that was concerned about, like, oh my gosh, I'm opening up sort of like my history into a real public forum where you could be scrutinized by anybody who's standing in a bookstore, opening your book into a middle chapter somewhere, or really page one, or page one for that matter.
Yeah, page one. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I went on to teach college after I graduated from Antioch, and I really do believe it's. I didn't get a lot of. I didn't get any further in acquiring a full-time teaching position. And I think a lot of it has to, I mean, they can't deny you a position based on past criminal life unless it's sexual of nature or drug offenses. And I have neither of those. But it's not like, also you can't teach high school kids. I was trying to teach college anyway. But it sort of seemed like I would check the box. Have you ever been arrested on a felony when applying for positions, and never hear back from them and stuff. And so I think, and it's like it's hard to figure out why or where or anything like that. I mean, I wrote a whole book about all the bad things I did, and then you go apply to a university, and they're like, what did you write? Well, here, I wrote this. It's a memoir about a junkie bank robber. Like, oh, thank you. Go away. But I mean, then another aspect of it is like, it's no longer a secret too. And it's also like, I don't got to worry about what people think about me. I just, this is who I am. It's in a book. Go read it, and it's kind of there's a lot of catharticism of writing of your truths and your secrets and your stuff and putting it out there. And once I was done and it was published, you can't take it back. It's done, and so it's kind of freeing in a lot of ways to put your story out there, just let it be public too.
Yeah, no, I think it's an important part. I mean, not everybody is a junkie bank robber, as you put it, but I think a lot of writers are guarding some kind of a secret, even if it's not necessarily a big one. It may feel big to them, but at the same time, I think we use writers like yourself in order to really get a handle on, like, this is okay. Like, I think it's important, like, especially if you're not like David Hasselhoff or some other celebrity who's going to be writing a memoir at some point in the future. I think getting a memoir published is, I think, is challenging business. It's a challenging business.
Absolutely.
Do you mind if I ask how long it took you to kind of get from the point where you finished your book to getting it sold? Was that an easy thing or was it complicated?
No, it was incredibly hard. It was, there's two classes of memoir. There's sort of like, why, the most incredible story known to mankind that's going to, inspire people to live, or there's kind of a celebrity memoir going on. And mine didn't quite fit in that either niche. I'm not a celebrity, and the people that would be inspired by my book are a small swath of America, so that's like the junkie drug addicts and recovery swath, which isn't, and they probably don't buy a lot of books either, so they're there. And so it was really hard to get out there. I still think about this about the publishing industry is that there's this whole myth that they're looking for new voices, but they're not. They're looking for the same voice told by somebody else. And so if you throw something out there that's a little too controversial or a little bit different, you're definitely going to be in the indies. You're not going to be a major. And then it's much harder to sort of crack that to get into the industry. It's like that. It took me over 5 years to get my book published, and I made a lot of mistakes on the way. I didn't really know what I was doing. You go to an MFA, you go to a fine arts school, and they teach you the basics of how to write, and that's about it. They don't give you a lot of, classes on getting agents or, the fundamentals of actually making a living out of your art or anything like that. It's just sort of like, we're a fine arts school, learn how to write, and I'll get out the door and go out there and do this. And I sent the book out to a lot of presses and agents way before it was ready. I had a horrible first title that was just horrible and sort of didn't really, I just was not clear on what I should be doing. I made a lot of mistakes. I sent it to, some versions that probably weren't as well written as other ones. And it was kind of this ongoing thing. I also used to do this thing where I would pick a publisher or an agent that I thought was the one that I needed, and I would send it just to them. And then I'd wait however long it took for them to get back to me, which is like insane because publishers and agent time is not real time. So like, I'd sit there and I'd send it to one person, and like 9 months later, they get back to me and go, no, this sucks. We don't like it. And I go, oh, okay. And I'd go through the whole rigmarole. And then I suddenly realized that the way you do it is you send it out to, like at least 10 or 15 or something, so you're not just sitting around twiddling your thumbs, and so it took a while. I mean, it was almost picked up by a press that went bankrupt. I ended up getting the first version of the book got published in France under the Hold Up title, and that was about 3 years in, but that didn't do much for me in America. And then I rewrote the whole thing and added a second part to it, the redemption part, and that's what got published in the States finally by Dzank. And it was about 5 years. 5 years of trying to get it published.
Well, I think I think that is an important thing for people to know, whether you're looking to kind of write, that this is something you do this not necessarily because there's going to be buckets of cash falling from the sky. I think you do it because you have to tell the story, because the story is worth telling, because there's probably somewhere in the making a junkie bank robber, and you might give him good reason not to do it.
Could be. Yeah, I don't think I would have listened to it.
Well, well, I'm going with the hopeful side of things. I don't think anybody the right answer, even though they did, and I ignored it. But I guess the important thing is that you can go where your life takes you, and you can rebound it and change things, and come back and be an author and be a teacher and change the world in all really positive ways.
Absolutely. And I also want to touch on something you said. I'm a writer. I'm going to write whether it gets published or not. It might not be good for my ego not to get published, and I might be a little resentful about the publishing industry, but I'm still going to write that book, and I'm still going to write that project, and I'm still going to write that essay. And somewhere or another, something's going to happen. But the thing is, I create whether or not the audience ever gets to read it, because that's what I do. That's what I do. It's just like, I think there's a difference between there's musicians out there that'll play in little tiny clubs the rest of their lives, even if they never get big, and they're never gonna make a living off it. It's gonna be kind of a hobby, and they're gonna get old doing it. But that's what they do, And so I'm a writer, and that's what I do, regardless of what happens. I have a novel right now that I wrote a couple of years ago, and I'm still trying to get it published. And it might be one of those things where it's not going to get published. I don't know. And I've sort of resigned myself to the fact that it might not. And now I'm writing a second memoir. And I'm back writing another book. So I can't just stop my life and go, well, this book's not being published. It's not fair. This industry sucks. I don't like what's going on. I need to change things, or I need to walk away and become a used car salesman or something like that. It's just not how it's going to work. That book doesn't get published. I write another one, and I'm going to write another one. I'm going to write another one. I don't think I have one book in me. I think I have, as many books as possible before the day I die. I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I really identify with what you just said, because I think it's a lifelong pursuit. I don't think this is a cash and prizes type of career for most of us. I mean, maybe it'll happen.
That's kind of like winning the lotto, I think. Like, there's some people out there that made it and got huge and got giant advances and like that. But I can't look at that as that's the reason why I'm going to do it.
Right, because it's like winning the lottery. Somebody is going to win the lottery, but I can't hold my breath in the expectation that it will be me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing I had to learn was be happy for other people. I at first in the beginning, maybe my ego was telling me that my book was better. I'm a better writer, and people I know would get book deals and get published and stuff in the interim, and I'm not, and I would be not happy. I would go, why not me? What about me? And I realized that's not the way I want to live. I don't want to be that person. And I saw that early on, like that's a real bitter, sort of hard place to be. And I just sort of switched that around very early on in my career. And it's like, there's room for all of us out there. And so it just, if somebody else gets a book deal, it's their time, it's their place, and that's awesome. And I need to be supportive and happy of them, as I wish they would be of me when my time comes. And it's because the publishing industry is really fickle. Whoever's making or getting published at this moment, it's just whatever the whim of that editor, what happened and how it worked, And so I just got to be totally stoked that somebody's getting published, and especially if my friends are getting published. I got to be really happy about that because that's awesome. I want to read that book, so that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's a fun thing. And a matter of fact, you really showcase that through Why There Are Words in Los Angeles. Can you tell us a little bit about that reading series? Because I'm assuming there's
in
Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, Peg Purcell has a reading series out of Sausalito in the Bay Area, and her idea was to make a bunch of satellites of that reading series. She has Why There Are Words up there, and I've read for her a couple of times, and then she sort of put a press together, and she's sort of doing some other things happening, and she wanted to make a syndicate of a reading series. So there's Why There Are Words Los Angeles, there's Why There Are Words New York, Portland, Oregon, Austin, Texas, Baltimore, and I'm probably forgetting another one in there somewhere. But it's really cool to be part of that, and so it gives me a chance to showcase all my friends and people who are coming by and like-minded writers, and it's just good to be part of the literary world because you sort of remember why you're a writer. Every time I go hear somebody read something amazing, it sort of kindles that creative spark in me. Not the creative spark that I need to write like them, but the creative spark of that's why I do this. That's what's happening. And so yeah, it's really cool to have a reading series and showcase 5 and 6 different writers every other month in downtown Los Angeles. I really enjoy being part of that. It's really kind of cool. Plus, you get to meet a lot of people. You get to meet some writers you'd never have a chance to meet. You get to reach out to people and sort of make some connections and see what's happening out there. And you get to hear some work before it's even published sometimes, which is pretty cool too,
Right.
So it's good. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
No, I really appreciate your enthusiasm for that. I've had the pleasure of going to one of your events. What's the name? We might as well plug it while we're doing it. What's the name of the location, and when's the next upcoming date?
The next one is June 10th, and it's at Cafe Baron, which is 1000 Olive Street, downtown Los Angeles. Across the street is Olympic. It starts at 6:30 and goes all the way to 8:30. We have 6 readers. It's going to be pretty amazing. This next trip, it's going to be a bunch of people at a bunch of local people and a couple of people from New York, and I can't remember names at the moment because my mind is a sieve and like that. But it's a really good thing, And we also with Skylight Books comes down and there are booksellers and stuff, so that's really good. And so the people who will be reading are going to be Tony Johnson. Tony Ann Johnson's going to be reading. Oh, I love her. Rich Ferguson's going to be reading. Yeah, she's really good. And the local poet, Rich Ferguson, will be reading. And then we have Tony Duchesne and Jamie Moore and Jane Rosenberg-LaForge and Lauren Edgar Crow. So we have a full house. It's going to be awesome. So hope to see some of you guys down there. It's very cool. Yeah,
I'm absolutely going to be there. I also know Rich Ferguson. He's also exceptionally talented. So I'm going to be there. So I will see you in person then.
Awesome.
So let's see. What else do we need to know? I think we've covered the gamut of writing from the place of truth. We talked about the industry. We've talked about your upcoming books. How far along are you in this next memoir?
I'm in about 100 pages in. So it's the precursor to the gun needle spoon. It's when the drugs were, quote unquote, working. And it's when I used to be a road manager and roadie for a bunch of funk bands in America and being on tour and going across the country with Dead Kennedys and Flipper and TSOL and Subhumans and bands like that. And so it's sort of like a little bit of chaos and anarchy on the roads of America. That's what I'm writing about.
I think it's going to be if it's going to be anything like Gun Needle Spoon, I think it's going to be fascinating read. So, okay, so
Well, yeah, I hope so.
so we can still buy Gun Needle Spoon currently, correct?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's on all the major place spots to buy. It's on Amazon. It's on. You can go to my publisher, Dzank, and then they have it on their website. Powell's Book sells it. Indie Fest sells it, stuff like that. And yeah, so and then if you're in Los Angeles, it's at Book Soup and it's at Romans and it's at Skylight Books. So it's available pretty much everywhere.
So
much.
all the best independent bookstores are carrying it, which we love.
Yeah, exactly.
And if somebody wants to find out more about you or get in touch with you, is there a good way to do that?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is Patrick, PATRICK Oneil, ONEIL.com. And it's got a bunch of links to all my writing and stuff. And there's a contact a form on there. You can just write me and send it in. And I should respond. It's pretty amazing. I respond. And which is not going to be GDPR compliant or whatever that thing, whatever's going on with the websites in Europe. But right. I'll figure it out right now. What's happening. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from people. And I do respond to everybody. I get a lot of strange emails from folks, so it'll be great to hear from people.
Patrick, this was really great. It was so good to chat with you. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a lot of fun. And just so everybody else knows, we would love it when you click the like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to Writing Daily on iTunes and all that regular stuff. Then we know that we are on the right track and bringing you great reasons to finish your memoir and learn more about writing and get your stuff done. So I think that's what we've got for today for Writing Daily. Patrick Oneil, once again, thank you so much. And please go visit his site, patrick-oneil.com. Again, that is PATRICK-ONEIL.com. So that's what we've got for today. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Devin Galaudet with Writing Daily, and we will talk to you again real soon.